What happens when a lone gorilla takes on a killer anaconda to save a sinking child and suddenly finds himself face to face with a silent lion? You won't believe how the jungle responded when predator met protector. You ever have one of those mornings where everything smells off before the sun's even up? Yeah. That was today. I'm Mabu, not some happy jungle mascot. I'm the kind of gorilla folks don't make cartoons about. Broad-chested, grizzled, scarred, and tired of everyone's nonsense. I used to lead a troop, back before life sucker punched me and left a memory shaped like my little brother twitching in my arms, paralyzed by something that slithered and struck from the dark. He was a kid, curious, trusting, one mistake. That's all it took. I haven't slept right since. So when Sula, the anxious mother of the noisiest little furball in the jungle, started howling this morning that her son Tututu was missing, something in me just lit up. I didn't wait for the others to form a committee or scratch their heads. I walked, not toward the safe trees. I went to the bog, that cursed stinking swamp that even hyenas avoid unless they've completely lost their minds. Why? Because predators go where the desperate wander, and no kid, no matter how loud or hyper, should face what I suspected alone. The air was thick and wet. The vines hung heavy, like ropes waiting to pull someone under. Every step sucked at my feet like the mud wanted a taste of me. That's when I heard it, a weak, whimpering cough. And there he was, Tututu, barely visible, caught between the roots of a mangrove, chest deep in muck, tiny fingers grasping at nothing. He was sinking, slowly but steadily, his wide eyes locked on mine the moment he spotted me. But guess what? I wasn't the only one who found him. There it was, an anaconda. Not just long, absurdly long. She moved like liquid muscle just a few paces from the boy, her tongue flicking as if tasting the fear. Now here's the thing. There's a voice inside you when you see death coming. It doesn't say run. It says do something or shut up forever. So I did something. I leapt, full charge into the water, the kind of decision that separates legends from cautionary tales. I slammed into that snake's coiled mass, my arms locking around her slick body. She didn't like that one bit. She twisted like a living rope, trying to wrap me, trying to end this with one perfect squeeze. But I had one job. Get her away from the kid. We rolled in the mud. She thrashed. I punched. Her tail cracked like a whip, catching my shoulder hard enough to spin me. I could feel her jaw inching close to my throat, and then, as if this snake match wasn't enough drama for one morning, I heard it. A low growl. Deep. Final. I looked up. A lion. He stood just beyond the tree line, half in shadow, half in morning light. Massive. Still, not hunting, not flinching, just watching. I didn't have time to figure out what he wanted. I was too busy avoiding death by snake. But then I noticed something worse. He wasn't alone. 3 more lions. 2 young, 1 older, with a torn ear and the kind of stare that could make even a croc second-guess itself. They were forming a loose half-circle, not charging, not backing off. Just circling. And me? Still chest-deep in muck, trying to choke out a reptile the size of a canoe, while babysitting a half-drowned toddler and now playing the surprise main act at a lion convention. This wasn't just a bad day. This was a test of strength, of will, of patience. I had a decision to make, fast, and believe me, there was no cheat sheet. The anaconda writhed in my grip. Tututu coughed again. The lions didn't blink. So yeah, it was just another quiet morning in the jungle. Right. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how this unfolds, because the real test? It hasn't even started yet. I wasn't breathing hard. I was breathing loud. Every inhale felt like it scraped against something inside me. My arms were still locked around the thick, cold mass of that anaconda. She was slowing now, not dead, just tired of me ruining her breakfast plans. Tututu had stopped sinking. Barely. The little guy had enough mud on his face to be mistaken for a tree root, but he was alive, eyes blinking, just barely there. That was something. What I didn't like? That damn lion hadn't moved an inch. Not one paw, not one tail twitch. He just stood there, like a statue someone carved out of nightmares and bad omens. And the others? Oh, they were flanking now. Wide arcs, slow steps. Classic lion behavior. When they don't attack, it's not because they're scared. It's because they're deciding who's worth the effort. At that moment, apparently, I was. Now let's not kid ourselves. I'm not invincible. Sure, I've tossed hyenas like dry logs and made wild dogs scatter with one charge, but lions are built different. They're not just muscle, they're pride, precision, and strategy wrapped in fur. So what does a gorilla do when surrounded by apex predators and wrestling a slippery tube of bad intentions? I let go. Not of the fight, of the snake. She was done. She hissed, curled back, and slithered off like a bruised ego into the reeds. Fine by me. I had bigger problems. 222 wheezed. The cub needed help. But if I made a move, I knew what the lions would see, a vulnerable target turning his back. So I stood up tall, covered in muck, shoulders squared, and I looked right at the alpha, the one with the burnt grain mane and the scars like medals. Now I wasn't inviting a fight, but I wasn't backing down either. We locked eyes. That kind of silence is something you feel in your teeth. No birds, no bugs, just the air, thick with waiting, and then he did something strange. He walked forward, not fast, not aggressive, just forward, like he owned the jungle, the dirt, the sky, and frankly, maybe he did. The others paused. They didn't follow. He stopped a few feet from me, and I swear there was intelligence in that gaze. Not just instinct, thought. He looked down at Tututu, then at me, then, and this still has me rethinking everything I know about life. He sat down. That's right. Saturday just planted his big royal behind in the mud like he had front row seats to something he didn't want to miss. I didn't breathe. Was this some kind of trick? A fake out? Some kind of lion psychology test? But the stare wasn't hostile. It was curious, studying, like he was waiting for me to make the next move. So I did. I reached down, scooped Tututu out from the muck, and held him against my chest. The kid coughed, groaned, but wrapped his little fingers around my fur, still alive, still fighting. And the lion? He just watched. Then from the side, rustling, heavy paws. A second lioness stepped forward, younger, leaner. She made a sound, half growl, half chuff, and looked at the alpha. She didn't like what was happening, that was clear. But she didn't challenge him. Not openly. I saw it in her body. Tension, conflict, like something wasn't sitting right. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about territory. Something else was brewing here, something deeper. The alpha turned his head. One small flick of his ear. The lioness froze, backed up 2 steps, then turned her gaze toward the swamp behind me. And suddenly I realized I wasn't the only one being watched. Something else was out there. And these lions? They weren't circling to hunt. They were circling to protect. From what, I had no idea yet. But I was about to find out. The hard way. This is the tipping point. The moment before the fall, or the rise. You're standing on the edge with Mabu now. Don't even think about missing what comes next. You ever feel the ground change under you and you just know something's coming? That was me, holding a mud-covered baby gorilla to my chest while surrounded by a pride of lions who'd stopped acting like lions. No snarling, no lunging, no threats. Just eerie silence and sharp eyes, all pointed in the same direction. Behind me. Whatever was back there, it had these lions on edge. And let me be real. If lions are on edge, you should be panicking. I didn't turn right away. First, I made sure Tututu was breathing steady, still clinging, still safe. His tiny heartbeat thudded against my ribs like a soft drum. That sound anchored me. Then I turned, And there it was. Not a shadow, not a silhouette. A threat with scales, another anaconda. But this one made the last one look like a garden hose. Bigger, older, meaner, with that wide, blunt head and soulless stare that says, "I've eaten better than you and I'm not full yet." She moved without a sound. No ripples, no warning. Just a silent surge across the water like the whole swamp bowed to her. Now, you'd think I'd back up, that I'd run. But here's the thing about surviving too much. Eventually, fear just gets boring. It stops freezing you and starts feeding something else. Resolve. I didn't move. I looked that monster right in the eye. If this was going down, it was going down my way. And then, the moment that burned itself into my memory forever, the lion stood up. No roar, no charge, just one slow, deliberate step forward. He placed himself between the snake and me. Now, lions don't usually play bodyguard for gorillas. This wasn't some jungle fairy tale. This was a choice, a calculated primal stand. The snake froze. She didn't hiss, didn't strike. But I saw it in the tilt of her head. She was weighing her odds. She knew a fight meant risk. Lions weren't easy prey. And this lion, he wasn't backing down. Then the rest of the pride spread out behind him, forming a line, a wall, between me and that thing. It was silent, still, a stare-off that could crack stone. And slowly, the snake backed into the water, vanished. Just like that. No drama, no last-minute lunge, just gone. The alpha turned his head, glanced at me. Not a thank you, not a nod. But something passed between us, a recognition, two protectors, one moment. Then, without ceremony, the pride turned and left, vanishing into the underbrush like ghosts with unfinished business elsewhere. I stood there, frozen in the thick quiet that follows storms, my arms still wrapped around 222, his breathing slow and steady now, and then he whispered, barely audible, one tiny, tired sound. "Safe." He said it like a secret, and I knew. This wasn't just about me, or him, or even the lions. Something shifted that day. Call it instinct, call it truce, call it whatever you want. But deep in that jungle, a gorilla and a lion stood on the same side, and the wild took notice. The storm passed. But what it left behind, that's what matters. And if you felt even a fraction of what we lived through, you know this story was never just about survival. It was about choosing to protect something smaller than yourself, no matter the odds. Thanks for being here. You stayed for the whole story, and trust me, that means something. That means